So probably the best bass fishing bait ever invented, whether you're an Elite Series pro or whether you have just picked up a spinning rod for your first time, is undoubtedly a finesse worm. And I'm talking any worm under 7 inches, whether it's a Zoom trick worm or whether it's a Z-Man finesse worm. It is the best bait out there because of how easy it is to throw and the multitude of ways you can possibly rig it. So today what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you all of the different ways I rig it, and I'm gonna tell you exactly how to fish it to catch a ton of fish. And again, this is whether you're fishing ponds or whether you are fishing the highest level tournaments. This is all gonna apply to you. So stick around, you guys are not gonna wanna miss this video. So this is probably like the oldest standing bass fishing bait ever. It doesn't matter if you're 90 years old or if you are 12 years old just getting into the sport, you've thrown bass worms. You've thrown worms before. And I'm gonna exclude Senkos or stick baits out of this because those came around later. I'm talking just your standard worm. And again, this is a Z-Man finesse worm, but this is basically looking exactly like a Zoom trick worm. It's the same basic principle, and it's a worm that everybody has thrown, right? Everybody, whether you grew up in Arkansas, whether you grew up in California, whether you grew up in Florida, it doesn't matter. Pennsylvania, New York, this is what you threw. So again, I'm gonna show you kind of the basic ways that I like to rig it. And the first way that I like to rig it is Texas rig it, right? Because that is the original way to do it. All you do is you take your favorite EWG hook, your favorite offset worm hook. For those of you guys that don't know how to Texas rig, it's very, very, very simple. And that is the #1 way I like to throw it. For you beginner guys, that's your go-to way, right there. That is gonna be the way to throw it. For you guys that have been fishing for a long time, you've probably seen this bait take over the bass fishing world by storm as a Neko rig. Everybody is throwing these Neko rigs because of forward-facing sonar. You can see these fish now. To Neko rig this, all you have to have is you have to have a nail weight in the nose of it. I like the Z-Man ones, and then I put a dab of super glue on there because it's never coming out. Put a little O-ring on there, and then your favorite Wacky rig hook. This is a Trocar Wacky hook, weedless, so that way I could throw it around some brush and some stumps. But now you can sharpshoot fish with it. Again, the easiest, the simplest bass fishing bait out there on the market, and now you can sharpshoot fish and compete at the highest level tournament. But what other ways can you rig it? If you're a bass fishing guy that likes to fish ponds, you can Neko rig it, but it's really not up your alley, right? So the Texas rig is your first go-to. The next way I would rig it would probably be to do what we have here with this Senko, is Wacky rig it. You can Wacky rig one of these finesse worms the exact same way. Put an O-ring on there, put a hook right through the middle of it. This is a Trocar TK150, probably my favorite. And there you have probably the deadliest bass fishing tool out there, a Wacky rig. And again, works everywhere. Ponds, lakes, rivers, doesn't matter. That's the #1 go-to for me. If I'm fishing a pond, then you have your Texas rig. But you might be saying, what if I'm fishing a little bit deeper? What if you're on a deep, clear reservoir and you're bank fishing? Or you're trying to catch spotted bass out of the boat? Well, then the next logical is a shaky head, right? All you have to do, insert that through the nose right there, shaky head, bam. Now you can fish that all the way up to 60 feet of water. You know, you can fish that literally endless. But now you can fish it in and out of cover. You can fish it from the bank. You can fish it from a boat. It doesn't matter. And it catches all species. That's the beautiful part about finesse worms. It doesn't matter if you're fishing in Canada or if you're fishing in Florida. You can catch fish with this. This is a great bank bait. This is a great everywhere bait. So you might be saying, okay, well, what if I have a lot of algae and stuff on the bottom? Then you drop shot it. Probably one of the deadliest bass fishing baits in the summer is a pink finesse worm on a drop shot right here. But you could easily put this green pumpkin one on there. You rig it on a drop shot, and now you can fish it anywhere. Now you can fish it for smallmouth, deep and clear reservoirs. You can fish it for largemouth and brush piles. You can literally do everything with these finesse worms. And so that's why it's a staple in my boat, because it has so many different applications and I can fish it in so many different depths and so many different areas that I have to have some of these babies in the boat. And probably some of the best ones out there. I like the Z-Man finesse worms. Elastec, I super glue one of those weights in there and bada bing, bada boom, put it on there, and it's amazing. But the problem is it doesn't sink on its own. So if you want to Wacky rig it, I'm gonna go with the Zoom trick worm because they're incredibly inexpensive. You can buy literally dozens and dozens and dozens of them. Bitters also makes phenomenal baits in the trick worm category like this style. You can get those online. I will have all of them linked down below that I like to talk about, that I've talked about today, so that way you guys can get them on your own, as well as the favorite gear that I like to throw these on, so that way it's easy for you guys to get some of these and know exactly what gear I like to throw it on. Another great way to rig these finesse worms is a pretty overlooked way in the summertime, and that is going to be on a Carolina rig, where you're putting the big old ball and chain to work, where you're fishing offshore on ledges for you Kentucky Lake guys, for you Tennessee River guys in general, or for you pond guys. A Carolina rig is super overlooked in a pond. If you rig it on a 1/4 ounce weight, when you throw that out there, now you have that light that light Carolina rig that allows you to throw it, keeps it on the bottom, allows you to feel everything on the bottom and still maintain the contact with that finesse worm, and it's just a different presentation for it. The finesse worm on a Carolina rig works great offshore on ledges right now because of all the pressure that those fish have gotten. It is probably one of the all-time best ledge baits right now, because throwing it on a shaky head or on that Carolina rig, it just doesn't have a ton of action, right? It has enough action, but not a ton of action. And so you get the movement of that worm, that secondary movement of it just sitting down there moving, but you don't have a ton of moving particles like you have with the jig. You don't have any rattles going on in there. And so it's kind of like the OG Ned rig, right? It catches every size fish, which is another beautiful part of this bait, is you don't have to just be looking for giant fish. This is a bite getter. You know, you're gonna catch your 6-inch fish, and you're also gonna catch your 7-pound fish on it. You know, guys catch 10, 12 pounders on this all year long. Is it the best big fish bait out there? No, I would probably upsize and go to a Z-Man Fatties or something like that, a bigger profile worm, or your big ribbon tail worms, something like that. But for those of you guys that are just trying to get out there and catch a bunch of fish and get numbers of fish, that's where these finesse worms come into play immensely. Because that's what I like to throw first when I'm trying to find these areas that have a lot of fish, because I can get a bunch of bites on this and it lets me know that these fish are there. So then once you figure out those fish are there because you've gotten the bites, then you can upsize and go to bigger baits that you can actually have a better shot at some of these bigger quality fish. But for right now, that's a great way to start out. And that's about all I have to say with a finesse worm, guys. It is super easy to use and it catches a ton of fish. So those of you guys that are new to this game, go out and buy some finesse worms, because you will not regret it. You'll catch a ton of fish. It's really cheap, really easy. For those of you guys that are trying to fish at the highest level, figure out how to Neko rig these baits. Shaky had these baits and drop shot it, and you can catch a ton of fish, and you can really use them as cleanup baits on some of your key spots that you've already caught fish on, and it can also show you where some new fish are by using it as a search bait. So the verse that I have for you today is Joshua 1:9. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. That means wherever you go, whatever you're going through, the Lord is with you no matter what. So whatever you're struggling with, wherever you are in life, no matter what is going on, the Lord is always with you, and always look to him, because it's a relationship, guys. It's not just, you know, a genie that's going to grant your wishes. It's not something you look to when things get hard. It's something that it can be with you no matter what's going on in your life. At your highest of highs, he's with you. At your lowest of lows, he's with you. So talk to him. Use it, you know. He's your friend. He's there for you. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate the support you guys have given the channel, but God bless every single one of you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.